the category, in Oromia region, only 3.5% of the students, 3.5% of the students passed the exam. So the question I'm asking is, Barnoota Itopiyaa is fighting through being a Minister of Education. And interestingly, in that year, 2024, total overall in the country are 1,363 high schools could not pass a single student. Among them, 553 high schools in Oromia could not pass a single student from 12th grade exam. So the question I'm asking, why? So I know Barnoota Itopiyaa is coming Ethiopianist ideology, Ethiopianist philosophy. I want to visit back to how things have been done. I decided to visit back to how Ethiopian school system has been functioning. In 1947, when the Ethiopian government formally established a Ministry of Education, the proclamation says, shall grow in our empire, and that our people shall progress through whatever education. And then says, functions in direct contact with us, with the king, and shall be under our own direction. And it's not independent, our own direction. And then it goes, our imperial government, meaning the king. So then it further says, our exclusive control. That is where Barnoota Itopiyaa was born and raised. And he has to control. And coming to the formation of King Haile Selassie University, which is now Finfinne University or Addis Ababa University, the same thing, the same statement. It says that education system supposed to be supporting, says, our imperial successors, which means where Barnoota is coming from. And then says, university shall be one body politics and corporate in the name and deed of the name of Haile Selassie. Again, it says our imperial character continued. So, Barnoota Itopiyaa, who was a part of that system, now Minister of Education, so probably he's playing back. The Ethiopian education system coloniality is not questionable, it's just very clear. Early stage, Orthodox Church fully controlled what being taught in school. For example, what I joined in 1959, before I was born, actually, most probably he must be an Oromo. He was in his writing, he was asking why don't we allow other languages. He didn't mention Oromo, but he asked that question in his writings. He said that the teaching is developed. It's not developed to an understanding. It is about creating. It's not about creating criticism and imagination. It is to maintain status quo. Wagau, most likely he's an Abyssinian man, he reconfirmed that statement and saying that the education system is not necessarily preparing the student to think and act, and instead to maintain the status quo. No, it's not working for me. Okay, yes, and interestingly, in 1961, the UNESCO conducted a survey in Africa, and they tried to compare which country has been doing well in terms of education. They found out that Ethiopia is one of the countries where illiteracy level is very high. For example, in some countries, 40% of the population will read and write, But however, in Ethiopia, it's only 3.8%. So that offended King Haile Selassie, and he decided to change around. For example, in 1963, UNESCO conducted a conference in Ethiopia. So what was the solution they came up? I don't know if most of you, especially those of you in my generation or before me, you must have heard educational sector review. That education sector review is designed 4 levels, 1 to 4, 4 to 8, and 8 to 12. So the design is to make sure that all education, a student can go up to 4th grade, and then they can go back to their farm. Imagine yourself, okay, 1979, 80, they planned about 1.9 million students to be enrolled. For 5 to 8, they expected only 11%, meaning they are planning to fail them. For 9 to 12, they expected about 0.5%. Practically, they don't allow Oromos to, not only Oromos, everyone to progress. Okay. At the same time, what interests me the most is when it comes to non-formal schooling, religious teaching, they were intended to increase double and triple time. Okay? So the intention of coloniality, controlling the mind, they don't want us, they don't want Oromos and the rest to question anything, but to just follow like a robot. So my research question is, what are the relationships between education and underdevelopment of public health? Do the Ethiopian education system provide empowering learning environments or controlling? Are the students failing the exam, or the system is failing them? So when I say in terms of health, when linking to health, I want to underline that I am not necessarily moving away from WHO's definition. Health is understood complete physical, mental, and social well-being in understanding of WHO. Okay, and the Ottawa Charter, which is part of UN, the WHO, identified that peace, adequate economic resources, food, shelter, education, social justice, and stable and sustainable resources are critical to health development. I underline, education is critical. Also, when we talk about public health, it is about to promote, protect, and provide, and restore if necessary, and this requires capacity to do it. What that capacity? That capacity is about education power, knowledge. Okay, in fact, education is key to build the capacity of the society to address modifiable health determinants. So the method of approaching knowledge synthesis. I don't have data to directly look into what is going on in Ethiopia, but I'm going through indirectly looking into what others have done and doing. So education can be formal, informal, it can be process and product. In education, we learn new techniques and ideas, foster critical thinking and reasoning, enhance problem-solving abilities, awareness of one's emotions, self-control, and also interpersonal skills. What we know, basic skill, reading, writing, arithmetics, helps you to think, and when it comes to health issues are at risk. Thinking critically, creative thinking, you are facing some problems, so how do you do it? That gives you, education gives you that tool. Personal qualities, responsibilities, self-esteem, sociability, self-management. Education gives you that. So what does it mean? Education is an integral part of being healthy. Healthy as a person and healthy as a society. A person the person is unhealthy if he lacks basic skills, such as thinking skills and personal qualities. For sake of time, I need to move a little bit further. Okay, I looked into data analysis of OECD countries. What they found is really interesting is adults with higher education attainment have better health and lifespan comparing to their less educated peers. It is just given in Western world. Does that apply to all else? Yes. Especially university training influences infant mortality, life expectancy, child vaccination, and enrollment rates. Education reduces premature mortality. What are the mechanisms? Economical, social, psychological, interpersonal, and behavioral methods. So this is the case in USA. The National Poverty Center in USA, they compared people who are less than 12th grade and less, and those who did university degree, 4 years or 4 degree. When we look into mortality rate, 4 years degree gives you advantage. Heart diseases, this is also true, diabetic and sick days. You know, interestingly, in terms of education behavior, okay, they are, university graduates are less smokers. They will lose days with, they will drink less. They are less overweight. So they are also slightly less use illicit drugs. So which means education gives you the tool to be healthy. So when Ethiopian government is denying that, it is we need to challenge them. Not, I know, I looked into very much Western countries, but also interestingly, what interested in Kerala state in India. Kerala state is the most educated state in India. Especially women are more educated than even men. So what do you see there? You see, in education level, they are the top. Okay, you can see, and also infant mortality is the least among Kerala state. Why? They are not necessarily rich comparing to many other states, but they are more educated. So that education gives you the opportunity to manage whatever resources you have. Okay, so if you look into Oromia now, one of the major problems, really scary issue that bothers me is infant and child mortality is very high. Very high, extremely high. This is easily preventable. I don't know, but some of you may have heard about electrolyte. If you, for example, when children are vomiting and have diarrheas, if you mix sugar, salt, and honey sometimes, you can prevent that. But that requires some education in order to do so. In Indian case, Kerala state, they don't have to go to doctors. They can manage that techniques. Okay, life expectancy, extremely high. Most of them are easily preventable. Okay? Limited access to clean water. I don't, some of you, I don't know, I hope you have been in Oromia. They are intensively using fertilizer nowadays. In the past, people would be drinking from ponds, more ponds. They get water from there. Now, small ponds are dried, and so now depending on bigger rivers. So what does mean is they are drinking soup of chemicals. Because fertilizer, when it's fertilizer used, that fertilizer is washed off and go to the river, and people are drinking that water. So, I hope I've been in Oromia in April. When you go around, you see pale, skinny children and adults, okay, and also increased rate of cancer, and much more than that. What I'm learning is widespread refusal of medical treatment in the preference of prayers. That an Oromo way? No. From where that is coming? You know, when Egyptian school system is when advocated, focusing on religious teaching, that's a problem. I try to look religiosity of people in the world. So surprisingly, Ethiopia is one of the most religious countries in the world. I'm not against religion. We need to balance, as I mentioned to you. Okay? Some of them refuse to take treatment, medical treatment, in the preference of religious prayers. That's not the right thing. We need to challenge. It is coming from the school system that doesn't allow you to think. Critical thinking is taken away from you. So my conclusion is, Ethiopian education policies is about control and exploit, which is counterproductive in terms of public development. If you control, then you cannot think. If you cannot think, you cannot understand and solve your problems. The policy do not provide the Oromo student with essential skills, critical thinking abilities, and or opportunities. Even on a presenter before me, the panels before me, they were talking that the education system is copied from the West. It doesn't necessarily reflect the need of the Oromo people. Thus, I agree with that person. Person is considered unhealthy if they lack basic skills, critical thinking abilities, and important personal qualities. As they said, knowledge is power. Educated individuals are empowered individuals, and they in turn promote the empowerment of their communities, creating mutually beneficial cycle. So, my recommendation, education is the key to build the capacity of people to develop knowledge, skill, commitment, okay? And it's essential for public development. So Oromos need to focus, struggle to control their education system. No, Burhanu, we don't have to allow somebody else to control it. It doesn't matter for that matter, you know. Oromia region need to control, if it's a part of the federal system, Oromia region need to control their own education system. They need to evaluate their students according to their needs, not according to the need of others. Education underachievement poses significant barrier to public development. The health issues that we see in Oromia, okay, is closely tied to the education level. Education critical component of individuals and social and societal health, and so we need to take that very seriously. Oromo people need to invest in their education system. One, that's what I say. Probably you don't have to agree with me, that's the way I say. In Ethiopia, the most talented student often pursues career in field of medicine, law, engineering. Those slightly less academic gifted go to public service like managers, teachers, and so forth. Another group, students, when they drop out, they go to the military. And they go to the military and they take the gun and take the power. So those who didn't do well, they become leaders of the country. So that's what we are facing, and so that needs to be changed. Thank you.